Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Hosted by Heather Leigh, PhD, Exploring the Paranormal offers a new, fresh look into paranormal research. Join Heather as she discusses some of the many haunted locations worldwide, discusses why these locations are haunted, hear from paranormal researchers about their personal experiences at these locations. Additionally, Heather takes a journey into the science behind the paranormal, discussing topics such as thermodynamics and the Heisenberg principle and how they both affect paranormal activity. Now, your host of Exploring the Paranormal, Dr. Heather Leigh.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Super excited to be here today, but I do want to let you guys know that we've been experiencing plenty of thunderstorms in the area, especially if you guys watched the interview that I did with Reverend Sean Whittington last night. Lots of thunder and lightning and flickering of a whole bunch of stuff electronic-wise. So if you lose me, I'm sorry. We'll catch up next week when we come back, but I'm hoping, keep your fingers crossed, that these storms do not start until 1 o'clock like they're supposed to, but you just never know. And hello, Courtney. Thank you for tuning in. Today's guest is, actually don't really need to do an introduction for him, but he won't be here until 10:30. Joe Franke. I've brought him back on. He's my co-host of Passport to the Paranormal on Thursday nights. And today I wanted to bring him on and put him in the hot seat. Usually he comes on and shares stories about his experiences with the Warrens, his paranormal experiences, what he got started in. Today I'm going to change things up on him, and he doesn't know that yet, but I'm going to be tossing a whole bunch of different questions at him, such as what are his thoughts on the tech tools, non-tech tools, science and the paranormal, and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So if you guys have any questions you want me to toss at Joe, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will add them to the list. And trying to think of what else. If you guys, as always, if you have any questions, let me know. It doesn't even have to be about our show topic. I'm usually have plenty of time to answer them. If I don't get them answered right away, I'll do them later in the show, or I will do them off the air by sending a message or commenting on the comments in the show. So feel free to ask away. I'm here to answer the questions you have. So before I get started with my, I have a little bit of a topic on something that I'm working on for training as part of my shamanic life coaching course. So we'll be going over a few things. I want to get your opinions on it, and kind of something that I did that helped me with my mid-year slump, I guess you would call it. So, but for those of you who are new watching the show, and even those of you who've been here before, feel free to comment, say hello, let me know you're watching. Tell us where you're from, where you're watching from. You don't need to get into details. You could just tell us your country or state or whatever you guys, province, or whatever you guys live. It doesn't have to be too specific. We don't need your exact address. We just need to know about where you're living from, where you're listening from, just kind of have an idea of who's out there watching. But then for those of you who've never watched this before or don't know who I am, I'm Heather Leigh. I have a PhD in paranormal science from the Institute of Metaphysical and Humanistic Studies, and that's here in Florida. I'm an author, lecturer, paranormal researcher, motivator, life coach, and educator with more than 35 years research paranormal experience. I used to say 30, but we actually calculated it, and it's 35. I have several books out and several more coming out. Haunted Southern Nevada Ghost Towns. It's back on Amazon, but you won't be getting it until late July. But you can go to the History Press or Arcadia Publishing, order directly from there. I need to change this too. I have 5 copies left. I sold several over the weekend. So if you want to get an autographed copy, reach out to me and let me know. Ghosts and Legends of the Vegas Valley is available on Amazon or the History Press. I actually sold out of my copies, and I have to order some, so I won't be getting any more until mid to late July myself. Haunted Florida Lighthouses. Great book to talk about during this show. Joe Franke actually wrote the foreword to it. He did an excellent job. Love it. He's a big fan of lighthouses, so I thought he'd be perfect for that one. And then either later this year or early next year, Haunted Florida Ghost Towns will be out, as well as I just started writing Haunted Florida theme parks, or not theme parks, roadside attractions. So those will be projects that I'm working on. So stay tuned for updates on that one. For those of you who also follow Ghost Education 101, we have tomorrow's special guest, Johnny Zaffis, will be joining us to talk about his haunted collection, some of the things he's done, some projects he's working on, and his tips and tricks on helping clients, because he does still help clients. And then, of course, you always can watch myself and my team in action on Real Haunts Ghost Towns and Real Haunts 3. So make sure you also stay tuned, because there are some things behind the scenes working with motion picture video that may be coming out in the next year or two. So make sure you stay tuned for that. If you hadn't had a chance to watch Ghost Adventures Lake of Death, make sure you check that out, and you might see someone you recognize in there partway through. That was actually, even though I wasn't there filming with them, that was a lot of fun to film and get that ready. And as I mentioned earlier, Passport to the Paranormal will not be airing this week, but we will be returning June 29th. It airs Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And on the 29th, we have special guests, the Children of the Paranormal. So we're going to have my son and then Joe's twin daughters on the show to discuss what life was like to be raised by a paranormal researcher. Okay, and also, Joe, can't believe it's in like a week and a half, but mark your calendars, TMCC, the online classes I'm teaching, registration opens July 1st, and I'll be posting the links for that on September 25th. I'm teaching the ABCs of Paranormal Research, and on October 9th, I'm going to be doing the Ghost Hunting 101 classes. So make sure you keep an eye out. I will be sharing all of this on my Facebook pages, share it during the shows, and a whole bunch of different things. Can't keep up with I'm working on it, Courtney. I can't keep up with all the books I'm putting out, and I can't really talk about some of the other book projects I have, but there's several others that will be coming out that are not tied with the History Press. So that list is just going to keep getting longer and longer. So but I hope anybody who's gotten the books that you are enjoying them as much as I enjoy writing them, because it's a lot of fun. So real quick, I wanted to kind of, like I said, change things up a little bit. I'm not going to be talking about paranormal before Joe comes on. But I did receive a question from someone. She reached out to me. Colleen had asked that she had mentioned that she had gotten far behind on her goals, and she just feels stuck, like she doesn't know what she's doing. And she wanted to see if I had any tips, tricks on getting remotivated and achieving her goals before the end of the year, because I cannot believe that we are already halfway through the year. It's unbelievable. So I made a list of different tips and tricks that everybody can use. So even if you haven't set a goal for this year, I mean, you can still use these tips and tricks to achieve your goals for the end of the year. And I always tell people having goals is a great way to keep you motivated, whether it's in life, in work, or whatever you need to do, whether it's finances, health, business, or anything like that. You can set these goals and get there. And they could be as small as, I have one friend who she's trying to monetize her blog. And one thing that she does is she sets her goals in little chunks. Like by March, she wanted to have, 50 new followers. And then by, June, she wanted to have 75 new followers. And she keeps upping it until she reaches her goal at the end of the year to be monetized. So she's been doing that. And you can even also set your goals as, you want to save $5,000 to go on vacation. And anything like that can happen. Or you want to set a goal to either go back to school or change career paths. And there's so many different things that we could do. And goal setting helps keep us focused and getting to our goals either faster or more efficiently. So some of the tips that I want to offer is mid-year, I always tell everybody to go back and reevaluate your goals and get back on track. Of course, I don't want anyone to compare themselves to others. This I am extremely guilty of. The only person I keep telling myself, the only person I need to be in competition with is myself. Can I do better than I've done in the past? Just because someone else is moving faster or getting things that you want faster than you are doesn't mean you're not going to. So don't compare yourself. Go at your own pace. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody has, roadblocks. And that's what the mid-year review is all about, is identifying those roadblocks and moving past them. Again, don't worry if you're behind. There's still plenty of time to get back on track. Don't beat yourself up over it. I'm guilty of that as well. I always say I need to take my own advice sometimes, but it's hard. I get it. So you should review your goals mid-year and look at your progress. Instead of just saying, hey, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z, say, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but how far have I, how close am I? How far have I come? And make sure you have your goals from January that you wrote down. Or if you didn't write them down, now's the time to write them down so you have them. Because it's always a good idea to have your goals and your progress and everything written down so you can map it out. I want to offer a 7-day progress challenge. And this is one thing where you break your goal review down into 7 different days. So you're not doing it all at once, and limit your time. Because if you spend, 3 hours or more, dwelling over why you haven't hit your goals, that's not going to help you. I would say 30 minutes to an hour max a day for each one of these tasks. So day 1, you want to review your vision, your goals. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to achieve a certain goal? So figure out your why, essentially. Then check your goal progress on day 2. Check from where you started, to where you're at today, and mark that down, and also determine how much further you have to go. On day 3, take a good look at your habits and routines and identify any areas of improvement or any areas that are blocking you from achieving your goals. What's preventing you to do it and how can you improve that? Day 4, get organized. I actually did this upstairs in our bedroom this weekend. I took 2 days, and this one may take a couple days or more than just an hour. Clean up your workspace, clear clutter from your home, set things up the way you like it. Make sure you can streamline any process you have, whether you work from home or, even streamlining your process in the kitchen. Getting rid of clutter in the kitchen can make cooking dinner easier and no time is wasted. Day 5, continue organizing and check something off of your to-do list that has been there for more than 30 days. So if you have something on your regular to-do list, look back at it and figure out what's been there the longest, or at least for 30 days. My to-do list, I have more than 100 things on there, and some of the stuff is 2 years old just because I keep pushing it off, and it's simple stuff. So I really need to, like I said, listen to my own advice. So do that. Or, even you could challenge yourself to, do 2 simple things. Or if you have a whole bunch of little things that you can do, that won't take you more than 5 or 10 minutes each one, challenge yourself to do 5 or 10 in a day. And then continue with that challenge. You can also challenge. I know people who look at their to-do list in chronological order, and once a day, or you can even do once a week, they go to the bottom of their list with their first item that they've added, or at the top of your list with the first item that they added, depending on how you organize your to-do list. And they look at the oldest item and they do that once a day or once a week. And that helps make your to-do list a little bit smaller, and unless you're adding to it like I do every day. Get your planner and set yourself up for the next 6 months. What are you going to do to get to your goal? How are you going to do it? One thing that I do is, like Monday, I have my Patreon day. I have podcast day where I prepare for my podcast for the week. And then I work on whatever's on my to-do list. Tuesdays, I have this show. And then Tuesday after the show, I work on whatever I have to do for this show to get ready for next week. Wednesday's my writing day. And also my Ghost Education 101 day every other day. I dedicate Wednesday to, Tuesday's also my social media day. But Wednesdays are dedicated to writing my blog for the next week, working on the books that I'm working on, and researching. Thursdays I dedicate to my my magic stuff. So Touch of Magic, which is Paranormal Society, and other projects that I'm working on with Marissa. And then Friday is my Beachside Apothecary, where I have a booth and then make things that I put in the booth and things that I take to events with me, whether it's my little spell jars, my light up wine bottles. That's basically my craft day and getting that business organized. So you can see I have everything divided in chunks. And if there's ever a day where I have free time and I'm done with everything, that's when I go back to my to-do list and I start checking off different things in there. And then day 7 is put a system in place. Like I said, that daily routine is a great system to have. And also try to find an accountability partner, a friend who you can share, You're openly share your goals with someone who you can cry to when you feel like you're stressed out over your goals, and then someone who you can listen to and help them. I know I have one friend, we haven't done in a while, but we used to be accountability partners, and we would talk once a week and just to check to see where we're at on our goals. So it's a whole bunch of different ways and things that you can do. And Courtney, focus on one thing at a time. Two, don't mash it all into one day, of course. Yeah, I always joke that there's not enough hours in the day, but there is enough hours in the day if you break your tasks up to real reality and doable goals. So then some other additional tips that I have is get yourself a goal book. I should have grabbed one, but I have, you can use a journal that they have. You can use a notebook. But there are several goal books out there that help you break down your goals daily. So you can use that. Also write down, keep track of what you do daily, even if it's not associated with your goal. Kind of at the end of the day, summarize what you did. And then that way you can go back and identify problem areas, your habits. What habits, have you been doing that are keeping you from achieving your goal? And then don't be afraid to revise your goal as you go. Sometimes things change. Some examples I have is ask yourself the following questions. Why or what haven't you achieved yet? What has changed in your life since setting your goals in January? You might have new life goals. Are your goals still relevant? How far have you come since setting up those goals? How much further do you have to go? Where do you need to go from here? Are you prepared to put in the effort to achieve your goals? And that's an important one because not everybody is willing to put in the time and effort to go for their goals. And what might stop you? A lot of people, it's time. Some people, it's money. If money's, in order to achieve your goal, you need money. Others, it's motivation and it could even be lack of interest or, just a whole bunch of different things. And that's when you need to revise your goals. If you definitely have a lack of interest to do anything to get that goal done. How will you overcome and what might stop, how will you overcome what might stop you? And are your goals still achievable? I mean, let's say you had a goal to get, I'm just throwing this out there because I hear it from a lot of people. Let's say you had a goal to set 10,000 followers on TikTok by the end of the year. And if you review your goals and it's November and you've only gotten 100 followers, that 10,000 might not be a real achievable goal. So you could always reset your goal to a lower number. You could also reset your goal to another time frame. You could also, just say, okay, well, I didn't do it, this time around, but I'm going to definitely do it by, X, Y, and Z date. And then yes, hang up inspirational signage. That's one thing I don't have on the list, but I always tell people you can put sticky notes on your bathroom mirrors, on the refrigerators, and everything like that. But rewrite your goals down, even if they haven't changed. If you still have the same goals, just rewrite them down. It just enforces what you have to say. Use the SMART system. Make sure that your goals are SMART. Actually, I'm like drawing a blank on that one. Let me just make sure. I'm sorry, guys. I just want to make sure that I wrote that down right. Oh, specific. I knew it wasn't. I wrote down SMART and it's like I was drawing a blank on it, but make sure that it's specific and that it's very detailed, measurable. How can you track it? Is it trackable? And that an example would be, like getting followers on social media or earning, $5,000 from a side hustle or anything like that. Is it achievable? Is it something that you have the tools and the abilities and the know-how to achieve? Is it relevant to your life? Getting a goal of, I'm going to go back to it, 10,000 TikTok followers might not be achievable for some or, relevant to someone who doesn't like social media or doesn't want to, make the videos for TikTok. It's just not going to work. And time bound. Make sure you put a deadline on when it's going to happen. And then we mentioned it earlier, work out your timeline for the remainder of the year. Write positive statements in present tense. You can do this on the Post-it notes or the signs that you hang around their house. You can also do this in your journal or your goal book. An example would be, you're envisioning yourself at the end of the year. It's December 31st, and I have successfully achieved my goal of writing 300 blog posts this year. And now I'm off to Hawaii, and that would be if you set Hawaii as your reward for writing 300 blog posts. And that's just a statement that I threw together. Visualize your achievements. What will your life feel like, look like, and be like once you've achieved your goals? What will you say about your achievement? What will others say about your achievement? How would you feel about yourself once you achieve the goal? And how will you celebrate? So always make sure you revisit those goals often. Serves as a reminder of what you're aiming for. Set rewards for achieving your goals. Even if you break your goals down into smaller chunks, set small rewards. I used to reward myself with, Starbucks coffee, dinner out, weekend getaway, buy a new outfit, do for your smaller goals, and then have one big, really good goal, like either a big vacation or buy yourself something, more expensive. But do those little goals along the way, because if and you reward yourself, it's going to just put you in the right mental state, and you're going to look forward to achieving your next a goal. And then keep your goals in one place. Use that journal and have it on your bookshelf where you can easily get to it and look at it whenever you need to. A few things to remember before we wrap up this topic is that you are not defined by your goal process. Just because you're not achieving your goals does not mean that you're I don't really want to say worthless, but you know what I mean, that you just can't do it. Don't let your progress get you down. It's not permanent. You can always change how you move forward and get things done. You are only one person, or you are the only person who can achieve your goals. And also remember, you are only one person. So be realistic with your goals and know that nobody can help you get to where you need to be. It needs to be you getting you there. And we all have bad days. I do this all the time. I call them pity days. It's just days where I just don't feel good and don't feel like doing anything. I'll do what I can, and I'll lay down and watch TV all day. I do it more often than I should, but I do that. I always tell myself, and then if you guys are like me, it's one of those things where I then start feeling bad about everything. And I'm trying to think of the words. Just pick yourself back up. I feel bad that I'm not getting anything done or my goals done and everything. So it's one of those things where tomorrow's another day. You might have taken a day off, and just don't let it bother you. And it's one of those things that I always tell people. I'm better at telling people what they need to do to help improve their lives, but I need to take my own advice. It was something we always joked about when I was in network marketing. I was a great leader in network marketing when it came to training my team members and helping them out and getting them motivated. But then I would look at what I needed to do for my personal business in network marketing. And oops, sorry, I just realized I am a little blurry, aren't I? I might have to fix that when we take our commercial break. But I was always one of those that didn't do what I told them. So I always told them to do what I say, but not what I do type of thing. And I'm working on, as I've gotten older, I'm working on getting better. Okay, let me just scroll through the comments here real quick. Okay. Yep. Deep dive into self-love. Tell yourself it's okay. Exactly, Courtney. You know exactly how I'm thinking. And hey, Kelly, thank you for joining us. And Lee, thank you for joining. Yes, my background. I love it. It's a backdrop. And I don't know if you guys have seen these, but these are real wax candles, but they're light up. And I love them. They're perfect. They're perfect what I need to do. It took me a little while to get this done, but absolutely, absolutely love it. I feel like I always have a spirit with you. Yeah, it's probably Grandpa. You're right. He tends to hang around with me, and just across from where I set up my desk is the doll that I feel he's attached to. And that's actually, I'll bring those dolls on one of these shows so you guys can see them. My son says they're creepy looking because one, they're actually Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, and one does look like Annabelle. But they're mini version, so they're not the full version. that. And Mr. Franke is in the house, so we are going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to try to adjust my camera a little bit while we're on that commercial break. And we'll see you guys when we get back with Joe Franke.
No matter the questions, Ellie Weisencell can help you find the answers. Ellie is a gifted intuitive and a natural energy healer, which she applies using the body code and emotion code healing systems, among others, to help you achieve balance for your best results. Are you looking for more clarity about which direction to follow with your life, health, or career? Let Ellie guide you. As a psychic, Ellie can provide clarity to the path you are on, so you may use your free will to change the direction of your life. Are you wanting to communicate with a loved one who's passed? As a certified psychic medium, Ellie Weisencell can connect you with your loved ones on the other side to facilitate healing or offer closure. To schedule your appointment with Ellie, look her up on Facebook at Ellie Weisencell Psychic Medium or email her at elliewisencell@gmail.com. That's Ellie Weisencell, Weisensel.
Hey everyone, I am back with Exploring the Paranormal and super excited to bring Joe Franke on. I don't think he needs an introduction. You guys know him. He's been on the show several times before. So let's bring Joe on.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Glad you made it.
How are you? Yeah, I'm surprised I made it. My son asked me to play in a golf tournament yesterday. I am so sore. I haven't swung a club in like 3 years.
You're getting old, Joe.
Yeah, man. I tell you, I think I pulled a groin muscle. I'm not even kidding.
No fun.
Wow.
I didn't go golfing, but I was rearranging my bedroom, so my shoulders, like through here, were killing me all day yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went a few months ago. I found out I have multiple tears in my right shoulder, and the scan lit up like a Christmas tree, and they're like, you know what all that white stuff is? And I said, arthritis? I'm full of arthritis, so that's okay.
Yeah, Courtney says you should have practiced first.
Yeah, well, it could be worse, right? But yeah, I barely had a time to warm up. I'm getting on the first tee, and I think I killed a squirrel. The ball went right into the woods.
Poor squirrel.
Well, I got a couple of birdies, a couple of chipmunks. Trimmed a few trees. But seriously, I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh my God, I could barely move.
And you're on radio shows all day today, aren't you?
I have another one tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's okay.
Yeah, you'll have fun on Nicole's show. I love being on her show. She's fun.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward to just sitting and talking. It doesn't hurt too much when I do that.
Real quick, it looks like we have everybody on the show that's been watching, that's watched before, but just in case there's someone watching that doesn't know who you are, do you mind explaining who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, my name is Joe Franke, paranormal researcher. I've been doing this work for 37 years. I was a student of the Warrens way back in the 80s and 90s, and studied with Ed and Lorraine and went on a lot of cases with them. I learned a lot from them, went on lectures, and that's one of the things that helped me a lot is attending a lot of their lectures and in a helper capacity. And I heard them teach and over and over again. It just stuck with me. I learned things about the Amityville case and the Enfield house and the Rhode Island case, all those cases that were made famous by the Conjuring movies and things like that. So, yeah, I've been around for a little while. I'm feeling my age, and one thing I mentioned that is pretty interesting is I'm about the age now that the Warrens were when I met them. Maybe they're a little bit older, but late 50s.
Mhm.
So it's kind of weird the way things come full circle. And now I'm in a position where I can help teach other. Or we can help teach
Mhm.
others because you've been doing this as long as I have.
Yeah.
So I think we make a pretty good team.
Yeah.
You and I,
Yep.
and I appreciate you every
Yeah.
day.
Thank you. Yeah. I just hope we help people and don't cause more harm.
No, no, but unfortunately, there are. I don't want to say haters, but there's people out there that may not agree with me or with you or with the way the
You
Warrens
there?
fought, and that's fine. I mean, that's what makes us all different and individuals. However, I do
Hello?
feel we should. Can you hear me? Did I lose you?
You there?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. I was changing out. Josh messaged me saying that I was delayed on his end, so I unplugged something that wasn't there before.
Oh, okay. You can hear me
So
though, right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All
Just
right.
just
Remember
making
last
sure
time.
we got to play around with it. I got a new Ethernet cord with internet boosters to stop me from freezing, but I guess that wasn't helping.
Yeah, once I fixed the problem from last week, I haven't touched anything.
Yeah, we needed you earlier because my sound wasn't working, but Todd
Oh,
had his computer muted.
oh, I'm sorry.
So
Oh,
I was picking on him, but
I was getting some Ben Gay and rubbing it in.
yeah, we figured it out after I tried different microphones and headphones, and we finally got it worked
Yeah,
out.
no, I got this new setup thanks to you. I got the new camera and everything. So
Mhm.
do I look okay?
Yep, you do.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee says Team Lee Franke.
That's awesome. We should get T-shirts made up.
Yeah. We'll sell them at Phantasm.
Hey, it's not a bad idea. Jeff's got a bunch of "I love Joe Franke" stickers.
Right. Yep.
He made
We'll
up
get
like 1,000 of them, and I think he's still got 1,000 left.
we'll have his wife design it for us.
Oh yeah, she does a great job at that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. She's
So,
good. She's really good.
I mean, it's been an interesting journey.
Mhm.
I like, I like to educate now. I like to
Mhm.
go around and speak, and hopefully you and I are going to be doing that soon.
Mhm.
Um, Colleges, universities, private organizations, fundraisers, things like that.
Mhm.
To try to help bring along the future paranormal researchers. People that share some of the same ideas and values that we do.
Mhm.
It's not all about getting the money shot, and being on
Right.
TV and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's nice and it's fun to see your face on TV, but you want to be really helping people with their paranormal afflictions,
Mhm.
so to speak. So
Right.
that's what I've dedicated my life to,
Mhm.
just helping people, and it's not all about putting up a website or YouTube channel, even though those are interesting. But the people that we help, want to remain anonymous. They don't want their friends and neighbors knowing that think they've got issues because they think they're going to be crazy or something like that. But
Mhm.
that's just not necessarily the case. I mean, we can go in and help somebody and assure them that, listen, you don't have a negative entity here, or for lack of a better term, a demon. Trying to stay away from that word. Just negative forces at work. I mean, um, it's not all about that. But unfortunately, when you come into the entertainment field, that's what kind of sells.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
horror, the shock value, the scary thing, and I get that. But
Mhm.
you know, um, more about education and entertainment. Of course,
Mhm.
I can be entertaining with my personality, but you know, uh, you just, I deal with a lot of people that say they've had, oh, geez, I've had this group or this group out here, and they told me I have a demon and I should sell my house and move.
Mhm.
And you say, well, I haven't found any evidence to support that, and but then it's hard, as you've heard me say, trying to talk these people back off the ledge. Well,
Mhm.
so and so said I had this. You don't have this. Well,
Mhm.
why did they tell me? I don't know. I'm not going to speak for them. I don't know them. Never heard of them. Some of these people just watch too much TV, and all of a sudden you have something that you can't explain, or something you don't understand happen, and all of a sudden it's bad. Oh, let us come in, and they have 20 people show up with all kinds of cameras and computers and recording devices, and it's almost become comical these days. I mean, we didn't have this problem 30 something years ago, did we?
No.
We didn't have the internet, we didn't have television, we didn't have well, I mean, we had Hollywood, and we had some shows back in the 90s, like what's that show with Tim White there? I forget the name of it. Sightings. Shows like that, but that wasn't all just paranormal. It was also cryptozoology.
Yeah.
You had UFOs, things like that.
Yeah, I think Unsolved Mysteries also covered one
Unsolved
or two.
Mystery, Robert Stack.
Yep.
Now there's a new version, I think, out now, right? With was it Captain Kirk there, William Shatner?
Yeah, that Unexplainable or Unexplained.
Yeah, I mean, they're interesting shows. I watch some of them. Because there's things I still learn that I didn't know that, or I didn't know this existed out in Las Vegas. I learned a lot from you. The tunnels and caves out in Las Vegas, and I'm sitting there salivating, saying, I'd love to go in there.
Las Vegas is a fun place to investigate. I do have to say I miss that aspect a little bit.
Well, hopefully you and I will get a chance to go out there again.
Yep.
And I've got a long bucket list myself of places I haven't been to. I'd love to go overseas and see some of these catacombs and these castles that allegedly have spirits, and I'm sure they probably do. These things are centuries old.
Yep.
So I mean, I just think that would be very fascinating, just for the scientific and educational aspect of it. You really want to understand the history of the place and what happened here, and you hear all the horror stories, and some guy gets stuck in put in an Iron Maiden for God knows how long. That's all cool, but did that really happen?
Right. Yeah.
Probably, but I'd like to understand, okay, well, what does someone have to do to get put in an Iron Maiden, or, putting on the stretching device, whatever that's called. And do these souls still haunt the walls of this establishment? I mean, we know it's possible, but highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Why would they stick around there in a place that caused them so much pain and torment? But makes for good television or movies. Sorry, I get off on my.
It's perfect. I don't have to do much work while you're on.
It's just there's so many things that are fascinating out there, but you really want to understand, why things are happening. I always tell the people I talk to, say, ask the basic questions: the who, what, when, where, why. Why is a question we may never know. But we can theorize why based on our knowledge and experience. But I guess we'll never know for sure in this lifetime. Maybe on the other side, wherever that is, or wherever you believe that is, we'll get some answers. But that's what fascinates me. That's what keeps me going. Yep. No case is the same, albeit they're similar sometimes. Working on a case now for someone actually here in my town. Nothing really major, but they had some activity that can't be explained. And the funny thing is, the home is 30 years old, built in '93. It was built and lived in by a friend of mine I knew very, very well. His son and my son grew up playing baseball together. And he lived there with his family for 27 years. They just sold the place in 2019. Young couple bought the house, moved in. About a year and a half ago, they had their first child. And the child, I guess, is seemingly bothered by something. The child is still very young and can't really articulate what's going on. But the mother I spoke to, she's pretty frantic about, her child. Obviously, Mama Bear, that's your child. You want your child to be protected. And she's like, the child, and they have a little dog that seemed to be looking off into a particular area of the room or something, and start crying and seem to be, unconsolable. Like, they're very upset. The dog is shaking, running, hiding under the bed, and she's, so she put out a thing on Facebook through one of the moms groups locally. There's mothers groups where they all support one another and things
Right.
like that, and they chat. And my daughter happened to see it. This just happened about 2 weeks ago. And my daughter happened to see it. And people's comments, there must have been about 50 comments, 48, I think, comments of, the folks that are on this site. Like, oh, you need to call a priest. You need to go down to the church and have Father so-and-so come and bless the house. And, oh, you need an exorcist, or you need this ghost hunting group and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. We don't even know what's going on yet.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be paranormal at all.
Right.
Albeit it's strange, but I mean, children are very young. When they're very young, and they're very impressionable. They're very innocent. There may be a natural explanation for why this stuff is happening. Things like that the bathroom light was flickering for no apparent reason, and I was getting more of a sense of an electrical issue,
Right.
And I one of the first things I told her, I said, well, let's rule out everything else first. I said, have your husband have the electrical system tested. Make sure it's properly grounded. Make sure it's the wires are shielded. There's nothing frayed. Hey, you might have had a mouse in the wall that chewed through the wiring or something. You just never know. So I talked to her for a few days on the phone. I haven't even been there, and the house is less than a mile from me. It's not very far, but I'm not going to run out there with all kinds of equipment and set it up. And you don't need that. A lot of times, as you know, we just do a lot of consulting over the phone or through Zoom or something like that, and find out a little bit of history of the family. What's going on. Do you have any? Have you had anyone pass in your family recently? Which she had, a grandmother, and she also had an old bedroom set that was handed down through generations that belonged to the grandparents. So I'm like, okay, well, let's start where we are and move backwards and try to see if we can figure out some kind of natural explanation to why you may be having this odd activity. And so we kind of narrowed it down. I said, well, I think you may have a visitor there. It may be the grandmother that is visiting the child. I did enlist the help of some of my very gifted psychic friends. I'm actually still working on my abilities, but just try to gain knowledge of what may be going on there. So I had said to her, and not that I had any proof of this, but I said to her, listen, why don't you just walk around your home in a very calm and pleasant tone and ask, Graham or Grandma or Gammy, she had a name in Polish that she would call her. I said, just ask her, to move on. Say thank you very much for helping and watching over, and we're getting, but if my son is seeing you, you're kind of scaring him and the dog, and there were other things that happened too that weren't explained, but and so she did that one night. This is like last week, and she sent me a message the next morning. She says, I did what you asked me to do, and last night was very peaceful. I said, great. Awesome. Okay. So then there was another incident where she was making the child's lunch. She had to go to work, and I guess her mom was coming over to watch the child at the house for the day. And she said, I was making his lunch, and I had some applesauce, and I think she said like oranges or tangerines. And she turned around, and all of a sudden, it was gone. The food that she was preparing was just gone from the counter. And I'm like, okay. She goes, no. She goes, then like a minute later, it was back. Like it had apported somewhere. And I'm like,
right.
I said, okay, well, are you 110% sure that it was where you left it? Was it back in the same spot? She said it was back in the same spot. So I said, well, I can't explain that if that happened exactly the way you're telling me. Obviously, I wasn't thinking she was lying or making that up at all. I said, but things like that can and happen. But I said, continue to do what I asked you for the next few nights and see what happens. And this was late last week, I think, and I haven't heard. I said, listen, my phone is always on. I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning. If something happens and you're scared, call me. I may not answer if I don't wake up. I sleep like a rock, but let me know. And no news is good news. I don't think I've talked to her since last Wednesday or Thursday. So we're going on almost a week.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to send her a note this week, just checking in, but I don't want to plant the seed,
Right.
Oh, yeah, well, this happened. Well, why didn't you tell me that? Because if anything odd or strange happens, just write it down, keep a journal, write everything down so you don't forget. Anything that you can, back up with photos or video or anything like that. So she did send me a video of the lights flickering in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked her if that had happened, if they had ever noticed that happening before or since, and she said no. I said, well, check out the light switch, check out the actual light assembly, check out the electrical. So they did all that and said everything seemed to be fine. And basically, as far as I know, everything has stopped. Everything that they were reporting
Right.
has stopped. But there wasn't like dishes flying around and stuff like that. It wasn't anything like that. It was just things that they noticed that were odd, and the child would get upset. So, one thing she did tell me last week when I last talked to her is her husband had gotten called into work, and she was home alone, and the baby would start crying again.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, I think 18 months old. To me, that's a baby. And she went up and she said what I asked her to say in Polish. I said, she said, should I say it in Polish or in English? I said, whatever you're comfortable with. She's going to understand you. If that's your grandmother. And she went up and she did it. And then she came down and she put the child back into bed. And she said, within a minute or so, he was sound asleep. I said, well, I can't tell you for sure if that was what did it or not, but, it certainly wasn't going to hurt.
Right.
So a lot of this, I think, is psychological. Things start happening, especially if you're into this kind of stuff. So one of the first questions I ask people when I interview them is, how much of these TV shows or how many of these TV shows do you watch and these movies? And a lot of people are like, oh, we love that stuff. We watch that stuff all the time. Well, the seed's already been planted. I mean, I joke around when I lecture and I ask the audience, I say, how many people here have sat and watched The Exorcist at 2:00 in the morning alone in the dark? And usually people don't raise their hands, but I will. I'm like, okay, well, seriously though, after you've watched a scary show or scary movie and, then, we find out, oh, geez, I'm all alone now in this apartment or condo or house. And now you start, all of a sudden your senses are heightened to what's around you. You start hearing noises you can't explain or, smelling something or you think you smell something. And, then people start freaking themselves out. When that mostly happens is when I get calls or emails from, people or groups that have spent time. Oh, my friends and I went out to a cemetery last night with a Ouija board or something like that. And, they were using the board. It was the intention behind the board. So I don't want to scare people, say, geez, I've used the Ouija board. Am I going to be, infested? No, they went with the intention of trying to conjure spirits. And now it's like, oh, something followed us home and this is happening and that's happening. And my door's opening on its own. I'm like, oh God, you just open up that can of worms and it's like, you can't put the stuff back in the horse, the old saying. So
right. Yep.
It's just fascinating work. It really is.
Yep. And Todd actually asked a quick question. He wants to know, what's the difference between a demonologist and an exorcist?
Well, demonologist basically is someone that studies demons. An exorcist, in my opinion, because I'm Roman Catholic, every faith probably has a form of exorcism. But like in the Catholic faith, you need to be trained at the Vatican in the rite of exorcism. You have to be, Father Joe down at the local parish can't come and do an exorcism. He can do what we call a deliverance, which is pretty much a layman's form of exorcism. Where deliverance prayers are very powerful prayers, but they can be said, recited by anyone, any one of us. But the rite of exorcism is probably the most powerful way of expelling, evil forces, or I hate to say demonic forces, but negative forces. I know we've had that conversation, so
Mhm.
you've
Yep.
taught me some there, because the word demon basically it grabs people, and then when I hear
Mhm.
demon, their eyes open wide and their ears perk up. But do we really understand that? That's demonologist
Mhm.
studies you know uh, demons, and the negative energies and the things they could do, and there are certain hierarchies of demons, and there's legion, and all this and that, and Satan, which is basically just a word that means adversary,
Mhm.
Lucifer. If you believe that, it all comes down to your faith.
Yep.
These are things that aren't tangible, and that's where faith comes in.
Mhm.
If you believe, I've actually said to priests before that kind of poo-pooed the idea of maybe something evil being there. I said, well, Father, don't you believe in God? Oh, that's a ridiculous question. Of course I believe in God and Jesus. I teach that. I said, well, then how come you don't believe in Lucifer?
Right.
You know why? It's because it scares them so much. Your
Mhm.
average look, priests are people first.
Right.
Your average priest, I've had cases where we've asked priests to come and just do a house blessing, and at the last minute, they'll back out.
Mhm.
Or they'll show up and they won't stay very long because they
Yeah.
get freaked out by something. I mean, they're
Mhm.
just people first. Just because you wear a collar, doesn't mean you're the most pious person. You need to be a really holy, pious person, and have that deep rooted faith for this to actually be successful, in my opinion.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, so I mean, anybody can call themselves a demonologist if you go by the literal definition of the word, I guess.
Mhm.
One who studies demons. You add ologist to the end of any word. It's somebody that studies that work, or whatever.
Mhm.
But that word is thrown out a lot. I mean, I've studied a lot under Ed when I was younger. Because Ed, God love him, he used the word diabolical a lot, and
Mhm.
demon,
Yep.
and things like that. Whether it was actual a case of such inhuman negative forces, I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, my faith likes to tell me that some of the cases they worked on were pretty bad. But maybe not all of them.
Right.
I mean, much older and wiser now, and I'm capable of independent thought. But no, it's a very good question. But
Mhm.
if you look up the literal terms of it, there is a very big difference.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people out there that claim to be exorcists. I mean, you've probably heard them. You've probably interviewed some of them.
Mhm.
And you want to be respectful, but I have a lot of doubt in my mind that you're an actual exorcist.
Mhm.
Someone that can go in there and expel, this evil. I mean,
Mhm.
in my faith, in my religion that I grew up with, Jesus gave us the power to expel demons.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
but the actual rite, by the Catholic Church, you need to be trained on that. And as I understand, you need to be trained at the Vatican, uh,
Mhm.
special courses for that.
Yep.
You have to do a lot of training. So you're
Mhm.
mentored by a senior exorcist like Father Amort,
Yep.
who passed away a few years ago. He was, the movie The Pope's Exorcist was based on that. Have you seen that movie?
Not yet.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah.
Um, but the movie The Rite, you've seen that one, right?
Mhm.
All
Yep.
right, the movie The Rite, for your audience here, if they haven't, it's a pretty good movie.
Mhm.
Came out in 2012 with Anthony Hopkins. It's based on the life of a young priest named Father Gary Thomas, who became an exorcist. He was very skeptical, non-believer, basically,
Mhm.
and kind of tongue in cheeks, said, "Yeah, I could do that. I could
Mhm.
do that." So his bishop got wind of it and said, "Okay, I'm sending you to the Vatican to study the rite of exorcism." And I've talked to Father Gary a couple times on the phone, but it's been years. Very smart man. You can watch his YouTube videos and stuff. But again, I'm going by my faith, and I never
Mhm.
push my faith on anybody.
Right.
But this is how I was raised, and dragged to church and went to parochial schools my entire life.
Mhm.
Um, but then you have people that really are agnostic or atheist.
Mhm.
How do
Yep.
you deal with them? That's difficult. It's
Mhm.
difficult if they're not of the same faith or they don't believe in what you're telling them. Then it becomes very difficult.
Yep. Yeah, that's why you research different religions and network with people who are of different religions. So that way, if you have that type of case,
Hmm.
you can call because I was on Reverend Sean Whittington's show last night, And we were talking about, I brought up that I use cascaria to do house blessings. And we were talking about that. And the reason why we did it is we had someone doing a Catholic blessing of the home because the mom was Catholic, but the daughter was dabbling in witchcraft. So we did both faiths in the cleansing of the home to make sure we covered all our bases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. But did the daughter stop?
The daughter did not stop, but she ended up moving in with her dad, and then the mom sold the house.
Yeah, well,
and that's about
that
all
may
we
be
know.
good for the next owner, because what if she's still dabbling? It's going to follow wherever she goes.
Yep. And I even offered to help the daughter learn, and that's what, I mean, if you're going to dabble in anything, take the time to learn from someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And it goes for me, I'm still learning. I mean, a case like that for me, I'd probably have to go do some digging and do my research as well. I don't know everything.
Yep.
I'll never will know everything.
Yep.
People look at people like us as experts. Well, maybe in the sense that we've got a lot of years and experience, but none of us will ever know everything.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that know more than I do. My mentors are gone now. I mean, if I still have questions, I'll go to someone else. I'll call
come to me.
John, maybe my friend John, who's been doing this longer than me.
Yeah.
So life is, in my opinion, it's a journey, but it's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Up until the day you die, you're still learning. But you and I make a formidable team, though, I think.
We're on both ends of the spectrum.
Well, yeah. I mean, we share some same beliefs, and others we differ on, but that's what I love about you.
Yep.
You don't always agree with me, and vice versa, but that's fine. I'm not the kind of person that's going to argue with somebody, especially in a social media platform. Right. Nobody wins those arguments. You just both look stupid.
Bill says, don't listen to anyone. Joe is an expert.
Oh, Bill's on, huh? Okay, Bill, thank you. Stop wearing those shirts.
Yep, Bill and Father Kenneth Torres is on.
No,
yeah, that's actually something I wanted to bring up. I have a list of some out-of-the-box questions to ask you that I usually don't ask you. Is paranormal teams that wear logos when they go to residential investigations. And not just the little pocket logo on their shirt, the big back logo, and then they have their cars decked out and everything when they pull up. Bill's like, here we go.
Yeah, well, this is where I get myself in trouble maybe with some people. I mean,
all the opinions that are being stated now are Joe's opinions and not mine, so don't take it out on.
I mean, look,
that's my disclaimer for the show.
Let me be honest and be serious for a second. For teams that they need to identify themselves, that's fine. Okay. Well, usually when I lecture, I usually get a few people in the audience that are part of their own paranormal team. Nothing wrong with that. But there was just this one show, and there was about 4 or 5 of them, and they were very nice, but they came up to me after the show, and one of them introduced themselves, and I'm so-and-so with ABC Paranormal. And they had these T-shirts on, and this is the backstory behind all this, stuff that Bill and I joke about all the time. So the guy comes up to me, he's like, "Yeah, we're ABC Paranormal. We do what you do." And I'm like, "No, you don't." I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "What do you mean you do what I do?" "Oh yeah, we investigate that." I said, "Well, that's part of what I do." I said, "But were you just listening to this 2-hour lecture? Did you watch the slideshow?" So I didn't mean to have an ego, but I kind of get tiffed when people say, "Well, we do what you do." So they have these T-shirts on, and I don't know, it's across the front of my saying ABC Paranormal or whatever, big whole T-shirt, and on the back of their T-shirts it said investigations 100% free. I don't know. Personally, I just took issue with that, and this is my personal opinion. And in no way want to insult anybody out there that wears T-shirts, Bill. I'm not trying to insult anybody. It's just not something I do or care to do. Now, if you've got a nice polo shirt or something like that with your group's insignia on it, that's perfect. That's fine. The people that put things on their cars and their minivans in the back of their truck window, I don't care for it. I don't care for it myself. I don't think there's any reason for you to advertise to the public that you do this. Because it to me, again, my opinion, you're just wanting attention. And a lot of that attention is probably not going to be good, because, it's an attention grabber. People see that and they see you get out of your vehicle and they want to ask you questions. Or in some cases, they want to come up and insult you. I had a case, a very big case some years ago where the family was very frightened and they're like, Joe, we don't want anybody, our neighbors, anybody knowing that you guys are coming. And I said, look, I'm not going to drive up in the mystery machine. I said, I drive a pickup truck. I said, they're not going to know. I said, if you know your neighbors, because it was a multifamily dwelling. So if your neighbors get nosy, just, tell them, yeah, I'm your cousin visiting or from out of state or whatever. Of course, I got Connecticut license plates, but, I said, you don't need to tell them who I am and why I'm there. It's none of their business. I just firmly believe in being anonymous, being very discreet. And as I always say, be humble about what you do and who you are. When you start getting a big ego where your head gets so big you can't walk through the door, that's a problem. And that's why for many years, up until recently, which was last year, I never attended any of these paranormal conferences. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just not something I chose to do for myself. I don't know how well known my name is. Don't really care. What I do care about is that people that will really need my help, your help, Bill's help, find us. They find the right people. They don't find these yahoos that want to come in and get some footage or get something on tape or whatever. And then the first thing something happens, they freak out. They pack up and leave. Show up on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock when they're, okay, I got a kid's ball game in the morning. I got to get out of here. It doesn't work that way. There are cases I worked on where I've actually moved in with the family for days and sometimes gone back there night after night for weeks, months, years. And maybe we've got absolutely nothing. And you try to put the family's fears to rest. But Joe, after you leave, this happens, this happens, this happens. I said, okay, I'm not saying they're lying or they're making it up, but in their mind, this stuff is very real. And I know I'm getting off topic, but it's all connected. So wearing a shirt with your team insignia on it, that's great. Wearing a billboard, I have a problem with.
Yeah, Josh commented he's upstairs watching and he should be working. So Josh, get back to work. He says for residentials, the team should go in with no logos or any type of markings that may let neighbors know what's going on. The family you're helping doesn't need the whole neighborhood to know they have paranormal investigators at their house.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like I said, what if, you pull up in front of someone's house or park in their driveway and their neighbors see that? I mean, people are going to notice. If you're driving a van, there's a group in Connecticut. I don't even know if they're still around, but, somebody had taken me a picture of the van driving down Main Street in whatever town it was. And on the sides and on the back of this van, they had this big logo, almost like the Ghostbusters logo with the slash through it. I'm like, well, what is your purpose for having that? It's what I call the look at me syndrome. People want that attention and they thrive off of it and they have to have it. And when they don't get it, they have a tantrum. Why is so-and-so get to be on this show? Or, why is this one getting interviewed? Well, who cares? What I care about is the people that really need the help, that are having some kind of affliction, find the right people. Not just me. There's a lot of gifted people. A lot of them are on this show that can help, So I just want them to find that person or team that can help them and not be looking for the money shot or whatever. It just drives me bananas. It does.
Kelly says that they leave it up to the client, but she does agree with Josh for the most part. But if the client wants, they will not wear their shirts. They'll take the magnets off their cars and any other team identifiers, and they use ID badges so the client can recognize and remember them.
Right. I mean, I agree. You should have some identifiable form of, like your driver's license or maybe a team membership card or whatever. I mean, I have one. I don't usually carry it with me. To be honest with you, it's kind of hanging up over here in my room. But I have one through the foundation that tells who I am and my picture on it and stuff like that with a line through it. So it's not all bad idea. It's just the people that drive around town with this kind of stuff. I don't understand what the real motivation is. I mean, are you hoping someone will see it and say, "Oh yeah, I think I have a ghost," and I'll call these people? That's not being in it for the right reason.
Mm.
If you ask me, again, all my opinion, and then there may be people that disagree, and I want to hear that, but be respectful about it.
Right.
I would never disrespect anybody for their beliefs. Bill and I tease each other about the shirt thing, but the shirts that Bill and his team wear, all kidding aside, are very professional. And there's nothing wrong with that. Although I have to tease him because he teases me.
And then here's one question I've been wanting to ask you. I kind of think I know your opinion on it because you're more old school, but what are your thoughts on all these tech tools? Like envision Bill's table at Phantasm last year. What are your thoughts on the SLS, the Spirit Box?
Well, and again, I don't want to get myself yelled at here. I am old school because I'm old, I believe there may be something to some of these machines. I trust my friends, my good friends like Bill. If he tells me that he's got a lot of good evidence with it, I have no reason to doubt it. However, I don't give a lot of credibility to it. Like, I know I joke around about the cat balls a lot and stuff like that. Just because you're getting spikes in EMF readings doesn't necessarily mean you've got a ghost standing in front of you. I mean, the world is just a big magnet surrounded by a magnetic field. I mean, it could suggest other things. We were on a case recently where we had some spikes in EMF in certain areas of the home that were unexplained. However, most of the spikes were coming from the side of the house where the secondary power lines came in, and they weren't everywhere in the house, but certain areas of the house. It was an old house, I think 1850, somewhere around that era. So what's going on inside the walls? I don't know. How upgraded is the electrical system? Are there any frayed wires? Is something not grounded properly? There's a lot of natural or scientific explanations for this, but all you see on television and through the magic of editing too, but all you see is someone's asking a question and all of a sudden the lights go off and everything. I mean, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I mean, was it edited to look that way? I have questions.
Right.
But even still, it doesn't suggest to me that there's a ghost walking by and it's setting off this device, whether it be a cat ball or whatever. So some of these things are pretty expensive. I mean, yay, capitalism. The people that make these things are making, a ton of money. No one forces you to buy them, but just because you see some person or group on TV using some of these devices, I've had people say, "Oh, I'm saving up to buy this, $15,000 FLIR camera." I'm like, I used to use that in my industry before I retired. I was environmental health, safety, and security, and I used to use. We had a FLIR device for checking the panels, the electrical panels, and stuff like that for the heat signatures and things like that. So, do they work on ghost investigations? Maybe. I mean, I can't afford to go out and buy a 15,000. I mean, they're probably cheaper now, but I mean, for free, I could put the app on my phone. The SLS. I don't really understand a lot about that. I mean, I see how it works. I've watched it on television. I've looked it up on the internet. I'm like, it's interesting. You see a stick figure, but if I put the SLS on Hannibal over there, it's going to go off.
Right. Yep.
We did it. Was it your show? Our show we did it on?
No.
I did it on a show recently. I have the app on my phone. Not that I ever use it, but I just to try it out. But Ghost Tube or I don't even know what some of these apps are called. I just scratch my head and I don't believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if there's something of intelligence that wants to communicate, it can do that.
Yep.
It can definitely do that. And it could do it through regular means, like
Mm-hmm.
if you're sitting there and listening to a recording, and I do that, I have recorders, I have magnetic tape recorders, digital recorders. If it's not a class A EVP where it's just clear as day,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot explain where this noise is coming from or this voice or whatever, I discount it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to be listening to this sea of white noise and like, wait a minute, I think I just heard my name. Yeah, play that back. No, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I think that if there's something that's intelligent that wants to communicate, that it can. Again,
Mm-hmm.
my opinion.
Yep.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people out there have gotten great evidence with some of these devices. Maybe it's evidence that I can't explain, but that doesn't really tell me that it's a spirit or a negative entity or poltergeist, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But Bill, God, he's got so much equipment. I was in awe.
He did state that 90% of that equipment he doesn't use on residentials.
I'm like, he drives around in an 18-wheeler with his equipment, right? and that's great. And a lot of this equipment does a lot of good, I'm sure. But I can't afford to buy the stuff. My wife would divorce me probably. I spent our retirement savings on ghost hunting equipment.
That's why people buy.
I have what everybody else has. I have video cameras and
Mm-hmm.
obviously my Canon camera. I just basically all of my tools fit in a suitcase.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Along with my Bible and my crucifix and my blessed rosary beads, my rosary beads given to me by Lorraine.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff because I have faith in this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Don't always need to pull it out, but I never know what I'm going to experience.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going somewhere, based on what people are telling me is going on, I'm going prepared. You should always go prepared.
Yep.
Hopefully that answers the question, but I don't give a lot of credence to it, but there may be something there. To me, it isn't scientifically proven.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. So I'm going to take that on the other side and ask you, what are your thoughts on non-tech tools such as spirit boards, pendulums, dowsing rods?
Yeah, and I know why you're asking.
Out of your head.
That's fine. Again, because of my faith, I don't like any form of divination, like Ouija boards and tarot cards and even seances and spirit box sessions. To me, you're opening yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's for divination is basically seeking information about the future using supernatural means. But it's like playing with the Ouija board, saying what are the 6 lotto numbers for tonight or something like that. I mean, believe me, if I thought it worked, I'd probably use one myself. But that's something that we refer to as doorways, opening doors that you don't know what's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people, kids, teenagers, or kids to me in their 20s that used to use these things. And I'm like, well, we get a lot of information from the board and it answers our questions and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, well, don't worry. It's just the spirit of a little girl or a little boy or whatever. I said, how do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, well, because it told me. Okay. So it can't be something more sinister that's lying to you,
right?
Just to gain your trust. It's like, what I tell people, it's like opening your front door and saying, hey, yeah, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
What are you letting in?
Yeah.
What are you letting in? And are you prepared to deal with the consequences, of what you just let into your life?
Mm-hmm.
You let not so much let in your home, you let in your life, and then people get attachments that they can't get rid of. And then they call people like us, and they're like, I need you to get rid of this. I said, no. I'm not going to get rid of anything. You're going to get rid of it. You brought this upon yourself. I will help you. I will guide you. I will educate you. I'm not going to come in with a proton pack on my back. It doesn't work that way. That's TV. Oh, maybe Bill has one. I don't know.
That's what he said. He says for once he wants to actually go to a client's house with a proton pack on. I can see him doing that.
Can we get those on the internet? Maybe, I don't know. Everything.
Contact that Ghost Busters group here in Florida.
Amazon.
Borrow one of theirs.
The ones with the costumes.
Yeah.
Those guys are cool.
Yeah, they
I
are.
want one of those actually.
There, it's they've all added me as friends on Facebook, and I love following their little adventures. They go to different conventions and farmers markets, and so
You know, I thought that was so cool last year when we saw those guys. I think we had our pictures taken with them.
yep,
That's really neat. But
yep,
when you put all kidding aside and you're serious, you know, I tell people, look, don't spin the wheel and take a chance. Why should you? You know, because you're just putting yourself, your family, your home at risk because you don't know what you're inviting in.
yep.
I've seen too much of it. I've worked on a bunch of Ouija board cases throughout the years, and you know, we just there was one case in Danbury, Connecticut, where we tried to burn the board and it wouldn't burn. I mean, literally, we doused it with lighter fluid. They put it in the grill, and the outer edges burned, but the board itself would not burn to the fact where everything would get black and you couldn't see the writing anymore. And I was like, oh my God. And Ed was still alive at the time. And I called him. He's like, yeah, you need to take that in the backyard and dig a hole. He goes, dig a hole about 3 feet down, consecrate the ground and bury it. Okay. Well, that's how I learned.
Yep.
You know, I bet that board, if you dug it up today, it'd probably be intact.
So,
That was probably 30 years ago.
Yep.
I don't remember the address, but I remember it was in Danbury. I remember the town, but I don't know, Spring Street or something. But these kids, and they were young. They would use the board just about every night to ask questions about their futures. And one of the girls in particular kind of got very withdrawn. You know, she was very withdrawn, and then she would get scared, and she was begging and pleading them to stop using the board. And they wouldn't for some reason. Finally, they called us, and I said, "What are you using it for?" And I said, "Oh, well, we want to find this out." I said, "Get rid of it." I said, "Let's get rid of it." And like, well, would you take it? And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want it." You know, I mean, there's a lot of people like, "Oh man, I'll take it. I'll buy it from you." No, this isn't a game. There are people out there that buy and sell them, collect them. What's the point?
Yep.
You know, what's the point? Like I said, in my opinion, what's the point? You know, so we buried it. We left it there. The kids were in college. Then they went to WestCon. They graduated, became adults. I don't know what happened to them. I didn't keep in touch with them. Hopefully they're fine today and maybe have their own families and maybe preaching to their own kids about not using this kind of stuff. But I have a lot of friends that use this stuff. And maybe they use it successfully. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it. Say, well, I've been using this for 20 years. I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? Spirits don't come on your time. They come on their time. You know, and maybe something will happen way down the road in your life, and 20 years later or whatever, and you're never going to go and say, geez, I used the Ouija board when I was 15 years old. This must be why. Must be why this tragic event happened. Right. You're not gonna go there.
Yep.
You know,
Josh wants to know, isn't an EVP session just a different way of opening the doorways, similar to a Ouija board?
It is. You know, the board is just a game. It's the intent behind it. You don't need a board. You can make your own out of cardboard and paper. You know, yes, in my opinion, a spirit box session is you're inviting these things in. Is there anybody here? I mean, you see it on TV all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody here wants to communicate with me? Why? Who are you? You know?
I would have laughed if Hannibal fell off the shelf at that moment.
Well, I've had stuff happen during interviews. That's Jeff. Something happened with my ghost over here when we were on an interview, you know, a year or two ago. I mean, weird stuff does happen around here, but I don't give it recognition. You know, if I feel that there's something bad here, I'll just say, get the F out of my house, or I'm going to make you do laundry. You know, I mean, I'm not impervious to this. I'm not beyond, you know, being affected by things. I'm just smart about it, and I protect myself. I had a friend, this was recently, who I sent her a photo of my home and didn't tell her it was my home. And I wasn't trying to insult her by testing her abilities, but what she came back with I thought was kind of funny. And I said, here's a picture of a home. Could you give me a read on what you think is, if there's anything going on there? And she literally said, well, emailed me back or messaged me back. She goes, this has never happened to me before, but I can't get in. Whatever, it's blocking me. I can't get in. She goes, but I do feel something in the lower left-hand corner. There's a window, and that's my room here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just thought that was interesting. You know,
Yep.
believe it or not, but she's like, it's like I'm being blocked from seeing. This house is protected. It's like in a snow globe, and you just
Mm-hmm.
can't get in. You know, but I do that for everybody.
Yep.
And I tell people, well, one form of protection is to envision yourself in a bright light, just like you're in the middle of a snow globe and nothing can
Mm-hmm.
penetrate it.
Yep.
But it's not, it's not a physical, tangible thing. It's the faith.
Right.
It's the faith. Yep. And, again, all based on my faith and my religious background. But I'm sure there are people out there that have different views or a similar view. But I'm always trying to be careful not to insult anybody, because it's the last thing I ever wanted to do. I would never insult anybody or their beliefs or whatever. This is just things I've done for the last 37 years.
Yep.
And it's worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe people have other things that work for them, and that's fine.
Yep, it's all in what you believe in.
Yeah. Just be careful.
And
That's the biggest thing that worries me, is that people that aren't careful, they're careless, reckless, and then they have a problem that, can definitely spiral out of control for them.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts on paranormal tourism?
You mean like haunted lighthouses? Stuff like that?
It's more or less the people who, I guess I should have said more or less urban exploration. It's not that the thrill seekers, the ones that go to abandoned locations that they really shouldn't be at because they don't have permission to be there to try to capture something.
I mean, obviously, anytime people ask me where places are, I usually don't tell them. Mm-hmm. Or if they know where they are, I say, I'll tell them, please seek permission. Even if you're going to a cemetery. Mm-hmm. Most, if not all, cemeteries close at dusk.
Right.
They're open to the public, but at dusk, whether there's a sign there or not, it usually, means they close at dusk. And ask permission. Call the cemetery itself, cemetery association. Can't get a hold of it, call the police department in that town and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what car I'm driving, my license plate number. You want to look me up? I wanted to go in and take some photographs. I'll be very respectful. I'm not going to cause any damage. Most of the time, you're going to get a no. Mm-hmm. Yeah, please don't. If my officers see you, they're going to kick you out, kind of thing. But ask that permission anyway. Now, for the people that don't ask or ask, get turned down and go anyway, good luck. What are you looking for? Mm-hmm. I mean, what are you looking for in a dark old cemetery? I mean, the spirits they're not going to hang around where their bodies are or were from 100 to 300 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're cool. I love history. I love old cemeteries. I've gone to cemeteries at night and taken photos. That's one of the first things I learned when I was with Ed, and I told you that story where I left the lens cap on. I was taking pictures. This was during the day, though, but Ed's like, yeah, take pictures of these old stone, formations, and the oxidation in the stone sometimes will look like a face looking out at you. Mm-hmm. Like, we call that pareidolia, but some of them are pretty interesting. And I'm going around taking pictures. I'm like 20, 21 years old. And, Ed's like, Joe, you got to take the lens cap off. I felt so embarrassed, but I was excited. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm hoping when I get this film, developed, I'm going to have faces in the headstones and stuff. But now I'm like, urban explorers, the thrill seekers, they usually don't ask permission. They break into old abandoned buildings or old hospitals, insane asylums, what have you. They have that allure to them. And, this looks like an old creepy place. It's all overgrown. No one's been in there for God knows how many years. But number one, as a safety professional, it's not safe.
Right.
The physical structure of that building may not be safe. You could fall through a floor, something could crash down on your head. You can get hurt or worse. Mm-hmm. Forget about the paranormal aspect of it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with doing it. And this is because I do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
I do things to help people. I've told you many times, I want to help people and I want to educate people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to go around. I don't have the time anyway, but I don't need to go around finding old haunted places, breaking in, climbing over fences. I'm too old for that, too fat for that, and then go in there and especially alone. So people should never go places alone. And there are a lot of things out on YouTube where you see people by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or at least they project themselves as being alone. I don't know if they have somebody else with them filming them, but no, I frown on that. I think that from a safety aspect, it's not a good idea. You don't know if there's going to be someone in there, maybe a homeless person is living in that could attack you, rob you, beat you up, hurt you, kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people need to think about all this stuff before they go in and try to do this stuff. I mean, think about your personal safety. Forget about the paranormal aspect of it. Although, with all that being said, I have watched YouTube videos and seen a lot of interesting things and say, well, if that's real, that's interesting, but I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Bricks flying, a lot of this stuff is probably staged, but then it's presented as real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a recreation. Well, if it's a recreation of what you think you saw, you should say that.
Yeah.
Don't film the recreation and tell people that this is what we caught while we were there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just lying. Let's just call a lie a spade a spade. It's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's for some kind of gain, whether it be monetary gain or boosting your ego or your fame factor or something like that.
Yeah.
People that do it to each his own, God bless them. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
And if people are looking for that, then don't call me.
Mm-hmm.
I've turned down more TV shows than I've been on because I'm not interested. I'm not interested in some snot-nosed 25-year-old producer telling me what to say or where to stand. Or, well, we want you to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to tie fishing line to this. Believe me, it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tie fishing line and then you're going to promote it on television or whatever, that this really happened.
Mm-hmm.
How many of the people out there that are real paranormal investigators, how many times have they seen that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Where things are just basically faked?
Right.
Because if you're on a TV show and you're out filming in a location for a couple of days and you're under pressure to make episodes that are palatable to your viewers and believable,
mm-hmm.
how many times have you been on cases where nothing's happened?
Right. Yep.
How many caves and tunnels have you sat in going, okay, I'm here. Oh, anybody want to talk to me? You'd sit there for hours and days and nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are you telling me just because you go out there with a film crew and a sound crew and a lighting crew and everything, that's when stuff happens?
Yep.
Come on, don't insult my intelligence. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's like when we were filming for the TV pilot up in Goldfield, mm-hmm. and we were at the Florence mine. And with the film crew, very little happened when they were with us. But the minute they packed up and went to their hotel, we had activity after activity at night.
Sure, it could happen. I'm not saying it can't happen.
Yep. It was like
not going to happen on cue.
Right. Yep.
It's like, okay, cue the ghost.
And it's like they knew the minute the film crew left for the day, that's when they all came out.
Yep. And I'll tell you what else grind my gears is say something does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And either number one, they run away because they're frightened. Like
mm-hmm.
Dude Run, like the old ghost hunters show, Dude Run. And then they made a whole marketing campaign about that. That's not funny.
Right.
That's not funny to me, but there was a show I watched recently where they allegedly caught something in the distance and then they left it at that. I'm like, well, what? I'm screaming at my TV and my wife's like, what are you yelling at? Who are you yelling at down there? I'm like, go after it.
Mm-hmm.
You see Bigfoot? This drives me nuts. Oh, you got me. Now you opened the can of worms. These Bigfoot videos, they're always shaky and blurry and from 1,000 yards away. I see a Bigfoot walking through the woods. I got my 45 on my hip. I'm going after it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't, I'm going after it. That's the money shot right there. You get an interview with a Bigfoot, but
mm-hmm.
they're always, even these ghost videos. It's like you'll watch them and like, wow, that's interesting, and then it cuts off, and they'll say, oh, we haven't been able to contact this person or whatever. I'm like, well, and I'm like, what happened? Show me more. And then that's it. They just,
Right.
they leave you, and that's their intention.
Hmm.
To leave you, you're going to believe what I've shown you, but you're not going to get any answers.
Hmm.
But it drives me nuts. I'm like, especially with the Bigfoot thing, because I'm into the Bigfoot thing.
Hmm.
But I'm like, well, why haven't they found a body yet?
Yeah.
Why we haven't gotten like concrete evidence where, things 10 feet from you, like
Hmm.
the Patterson film from the 60s. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look like a guy in a monkey suit.
Hmm.
Not for that era, but it's like, well, why didn't you walk after it? Follow it home or something. I don't know. I get all fired up. I need a drink.
No.
Well, not a real drink. Powerade. 0, because I'm fat.
Yeah, Bill just sent me the photo from the convention last year with all of us with the Ghostbusters
Oh, I love
and
that.
the Stay Puft
Those guys
Marshmallow
are
Man.
really cool. They were really cool. That I got no problem with, because that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah, I actually want to reach out to them and actually take them dressed in their full gear to a location to investigate, just to see what type of activity we get.
No wrong with that. Look, I'm not opposed to people doing public investigations as long as they're billed as entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
can't have 100 people investigating a place.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that investigation would be so, you just can't do it. There's too much energy there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have 100 people. And let's say, well, for entertainment, we're gonna do a lecture, and then we're gonna go investigate, I don't know, the Hoover House or whatever, this old haunted inn or something. I like those; they're cool. But I'd like to be invited and go by myself or with
Right.
us or something. I don't
Yep.
want 100 people around. I'm actually doing one for my town here. We have an old train station that houses our adult education department.
Mm-hmm.
And every year they put on this lecture series that I do. And this year they asked me if I'd be willing to take a group of people. I think we're going to cut it off at 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, yeah. I said, but, the woman I deal with, Heather, I said, well, you need to be there because you know this building. I'll walk around with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell people, take some photos of this, that, but I don't expect to see or hear anything.
Right.
But going in, it's supposed to be a fun event.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to educate as much as I can, and I'm sure I'm going to yuck it up with everybody. But that's a fun thing. That's not a serious investigation.
Right.
Because Heather, she wants me to investigate it. I said, well, then I'll have to, schedule a time where I can go in. I want to say by myself, because it probably would be, although I'm hypocritical there because I tell people never to go alone. So she'd probably be with me, so I wouldn't be alone.
Right.
But if you're billing something as fun, or it's a fundraiser, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But don't expect to capture anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
my favorite is when you go in with another team asks you to come investigate with them because they need help covering the building because it's so big, and you're on one floor and they're on another floor, but yet they whip out the spirit box at full volume, and you can hear it, 1 or 2 floors down, and it's like, well, there goes all my evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. It would definitely that would definitely be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what people need to understand about these tours and stuff like that.
Well, that's where the education part comes in. I mean, if you're doing a tour, I think I don't want to badmouth Waverly, but Waverly I was invited to by another team years ago. And I said, well, that's very nice of you. I said, well, let me think about it. Well, I didn't realize. They're like, well, it's only going to cost X amount of dollars. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. I don't pay anybody to investigate their place. Because then I'll just say, thank you, but I pass.
Right.
I'm like, I thought you were inviting me to come assist you. But then I found out that they have tour guides. And they take a group of, I don't know, say up to 10 people, and that you go floor by floor.
Right.
Okay. It's like what is this, like a Disney ride? Okay. Floor 4 is clear. You can come up now. I'm like, no. And then from what I understand, I don't know for sure, but they have a gift store or a gift shop.
Yep,
that
they
you
do.
need to pass through. I'm like, look, I get it. I mean, you own this place. If it's safe for people to go in and they want to spend the money and have a good time, I have nothing against that. but it's not going to be, yeah, maybe something will happen that's unexplained, but how do I know there's not somebody rolling balls down the hallway or something just for that effect?
Right.
Look, I got the biggest sense of humor on anybody. I don't mind having a great time, but feel it as such. Don't say this is going to be a serious investigation and tell me I got to go with a group and tour floor by floor, and then you got to, buy a T-shirt at my or a coffee mug at my gift shop.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't do that. Now, people out there may love that stuff, and that's fine. God bless you. I just don't, because, like I said, I'm old school, and I don't have the time or the inclination to do that stuff.
Yeah,
it's not for me.
Kind of like going to a certain museum in Vegas and having a midget clown jump out at you in the clown room.
I want to go down to Key West and hug Robert.
That's what Bill was saying.
I'll give him a hug. Seriously, respectfully. Can I hug the doll? If they let me, I would.
You need to ask Robert if you can hug him.
Robert, do you mind if I hug you? And if he answered me, I'd be
Jeff can't believe you're on the show again. I'd be careful, Jeff. I might have Joe replace you when you're supposed to be on the show in a couple weeks.
Here's the question, Jeff. Why haven't you had me on your show?
Yeah.
Was it something I said? Probably.
I was going to say, I've been on his show. It's been a while, but I've been on his show.
Aren't you supposed to be working? No, he works for himself. That's right.
And then he wants to know, what are your thoughts on snakes?
Snakes are pretty awesome. Yeah. Snakes
That's going to be your
awesome.
theme song when you come up on stage when we're speaking.
I like snakes. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. Inside joke.
He says, don't forget the Joe Franke merchandise is available. So you're just as bad as Waverly's gift shop.
Well, you know what? Somebody's got to make a buck somewhere. How much have we made, Jeff? I think we're in the hole by $1,000.
Bill's like, hey, wait, I've never been asked to be on Jeff's show. Bill says, don't feel bad. Basically, he's never been asked to be on Jeff's shows either. So, and Jeff says he just doesn't have time to do it anymore.
I mean, what's up with that?
I mean, Jeff, if I can host 3 shows a week, you could host 1 a month.
Yeah. We don't have a show this week, do we, right?
No, this week the radio station's taking the last half of the week off.
And then next week, we're good with the kids, I think.
Yep. Aiden's all ready for it.
Yeah. Well, the girls said they would. I'm like, don't back out of me because you're making me look a fool. So for people that don't know, on our show, a week from Thursday, we asked our children, our adult children, to come on. And I guess the theme is going to be, what's it like to be the child of a paranormal investigator?
Yep.
And then my girls are probably going to say, Dad never lets me go with him.
And Aiden goes with me. He's been going with me.
He's 18 now, right?
He's 19 now.
Oh, 19, sorry.
Yeah, but he's been going with me since he was 15.
My twins, I haven't brought them on an actual investigation. I've brought them to places I've been, but not like private residences. But my girls are 24 now, and my son's interested too. I don't know if he's available though. He works at the prison. I think he's going to be working that night.
Yeah. No, Aiden, his first investigation we were doing, it was a haunted house Halloween event at the museum that I did a lot of work with. And they turned the entire mine into a haunted house that kids could run through. And they would let us go every half hour. They gave us 10 minutes to go in to show people what it was like to be a paranormal investigator and do mini investigations inside the mine. And Aiden was going in with everybody. And one of the investigators that I worked closely with back in Vegas, he told Aiden, before we go in, remember to ask out of the box questions. And when he came out, Aiden was the only one who got responses, but he was asking questions like, is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Is the earth round or flat? He's throwing things out there, and he was getting responses. It was kind of interesting.
You made a good point, because, you could have a couple of people with you and maybe one person will get responses and nobody else will.
Yep.
Well, how come you're getting all this? I'm getting nothing. It's happened to me.
I'm more likable than you.
My buddy would get a lot of stuff and I'd get nothing. I'm like, I guess they don't like me.
Right.
Maybe they're drawn to certain people's energy. I don't know. I mean, again, questions we're probably never going to know the answer to in this lifetime.
Nope.
But that could absolutely happen.
Yep. And Jeff, your show is great. Jeff saying his show is horrible, but his
Oh,
show is
no,
great.
it's not,
We need to do another power hour.
I tease the crap out of you, Jeff, but I love and respect you, and you have a great show. You do.
But yeah,
Jeff's a very, very good investigator.
Yeah, we need to do another power hour, and this time I can drink, and we'll just need a different moderator.
It'd be great if we had a show like the Dean Martin roasts,
Yep.
and we were all on the dais, and we just took turns roasting each other. How many people would watch that? Let's take a poll.
We need to do that at an event, like at Phantasm.
Yeah, we could do that. Bill, let's set that up at Phantasm.
Yep. Yeah.
We'll just all of us will be up there, and we could just roast each other. I guess I would be the favorite target, but that's all right.
Yeah, we just need to make sure anybody who we have on the panel won't get upset with anything we may or may not say.
Oh, come on. No, life's too short to get upset. I don't get so upset. You can say anything to me. I don't care.
I did last night. I told Todd what I said to you last night in chat, and he just died laughing.
I know. You're always picking on me, but I love it. I don't mind. Because you know what? All seriousness, we're only kidding.
Mm-hmm.
We would never, ever insult anyone, let alone each other.
Right.
And we don't all have to disagree. I mean, we don't all have to agree. Last year at Phantasm, we had some pretty lively debates.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of them were kind of eye-opening for me. I'm like, that's a pretty good perspective. I never thought about that before.
Yeah. And I was shocked on the topic of...
You made me think about a couple of things, and maybe I did. I don't know.
Yep. And I was shocked, too.
We're a good team.
Because everyone usually fights me on the topic of experts. And I was really shocked that Bill was on my side on that topic.
Well, and I guess I don't disagree. I just try to be really humble about it because, I mean, as far as everyone else out there, Chris always tells me this. He's like, to everyone else out in the audience, you are an expert. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe if you look at it that way, but I look as the expert. I used to look at the explanation of an expert as someone that knows absolutely everything.
Yep.
And nobody will ever know absolutely everything. But maybe I've kind of changed that view since last year. So that's another thing I learned at Phantasm from you guys. I'm hoping that Jeff can make it this year. I'm going to twist his arm.
Yeah.
and Ken, I would love to have Padre there too.
I need to find out if I'm even going. Bill, hint, hint.
You're going. You can sit with me.
It's okay.
You gotta go. I mean, you gotta get the band back together.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's funny on the expert topic. I've actually been on radio or podcast interviews with other people from other teams, and they were called an expert by the interviewer, and they actually stopped the interview and corrected them. And they're like, "No, I'm not an expert." I'm like, "Why waste the time? I would never call myself an expert, but I don't get upset when someone calls me one."
No, but I
see that a lot.
I respect people because I've done that myself. I'm like, look, I don't know everything, but I know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot. I know enough to get myself in trouble. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But but on the other side of the coin, people that consider themselves experts when they've only been doing this for 3 or 4 or 5 years,
6 months.
Yeah, you could learn a lot in that time. But when you got someone that's been doing it, 50 years, or 40, 35, 40, 50 years, give them a little bit, give them a little respect,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I respect everybody. I don't care if you've been doing this for 4 months or 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion, their views. I've learned things from people that, wow, I never heard that theory before. Let me think about that, Just let's all respect one another and, not try to one up one another. I just hate that. Mm-hmm. And the haters because so-and-so has made a TV show or this one made it on Netflix or something. And I sit there and go, I never seen this person before in my life, but I don't know everybody, but, just learn from one another, try to be humble. Mm-hmm. If you have an attitude, and Jeff wants me to tell this story, but I'm not gonna, I've put people in their place, who do you think you are? I'm like, well, I think I'm Joe Franke. Actually, I know I'm Joe Franke, but that's it. But people that have big swollen heads because they have been on TV and have had a TV show And everybody they got a bunch of fanboys following them around, stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
so those are the people that sometimes they need to be put in their place.
Yeah, that's always my favorite is when I get asked, well, what's your experience, or what are your qualifications, or have you ever been on TV? And that's just like, okay, would you like me to start rattling off my list? Because I don't rattle it off usually.
Being on TV isn't a qualification. It shouldn't be.
No,
it shouldn't.
But that's what people look for.
There's a lot of people I've seen on TV that is cringeworthy. I'd be sitting there going, "Oh, I can't believe they just said that." But it's not like I'm going to send them a private message and say, you're a jerk. What'd you say that for? But there are people that will. People calling each other out on social media. So look, if you have a problem with somebody or something they've said, send them a private message. Why do you got to throw it out there for everyone to see? And then they draw back at you. Now you both look like idiots. Nobody wins those things.
Nope.
Always take the high road, even though someone may have insulted you, or you could come back with, hey, thanks, or something like that. Come back with a witty comeback that makes them feel like they could dangle their feet from a dime,
Yeah, but it's one of those, thanks for commenting on my post. You just increased my algorithm.
Like Ed used to say, don't give it recognition, it'll go away.
Yep.
And it hurts. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt sometimes, but I told people, look, I learned from some good people who I knew very intimately. Don't insult them in front of me, because you're insulting me. That's my job, to protect someone that's not here anymore, to protect themselves.
Right.
Don't speak poorly about somebody. If you don't believe in their work or their teachings or their findings or their methods, that's fine. We're all different, and if you can voice that opinion respectfully, okay, but don't come out and call people names and accuse them of things that when you never even met them. And that's what drives me crazy. But I can't control what other people do. We can only control how we react to what they do.
Right. Jeff says, he who has the most YouTube followers is my gauge as to who's the best. And I guess I'm probably one of the worst on Jeff's gauge, Jeff, because I have 18.
And I have 18 less.
And I know Jeff's just laughing. He's has a little smiley face. And I need to remind some of the other viewers that Jeff is a jokester, because in a couple shows he's upset some people.
Well,
and not intentional, but they just took it the wrong way.
It's a very controversial topic. But Jeff, I put Jeff up there with the best of them. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. He gets a little animated sometimes when he disagrees, which is fine. I try to talk him down off the ledge. He's learning.
I'm actually gathering some stuff that Jeff's going to help me with on the tech side. So, because I need to, for some of our presentations, I need to have the video removed, or the audio removed from video, because I signed NDAs at a location, and I can't, I can share the audio, I just can't share the video. And of course, all the evidence is on the video, not the audio that we took.
Well, that's another thing, with Jeff, and I mean this in the kindest way. Jeff will help anybody.
Yep.
He'll help anybody to the point where he overwhelms himself, but he won't complain about it.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you're taking on too much. I even feel bad. He helped me out big time last year, and I felt bad because I know how much work is involved in it. But he did it for me, and it was a great success. He helped me out with a video that I used at my lecture, and people loved it. It was great. But thank you, Jeff, for that. All kidding aside,
Yeah, I need to keep writing books so I can keep paying Jeff in books. The last time he did a video for me, I sent him an autograph book.
Yeah, he pays me by sticking my stickers on his car. And his grandson's car.
Yeah, when we get the Lighthouse book, I'll sign it, and then I'll send it to you to sign it, and then you can send it to Jeff.
He doesn't want my signature. He's still looking for Jeff. Are you still looking for a 8x10 glossy? I think I got all of them left.
Oh, I got to redo mine. I had to throw all of mine away.
Yeah, mine's about 3 years old. I should probably do another one, but I'm just more gray.
Yeah, I actually need to get with Bill to redo mine. It just needs a swap out of a logo.
Well, we'll see what happens. But you're definitely going to Phantasm. You got to be there.
We'll see. I might get books somewhere else beforehand.
Playing games. It's gonna hook you up. If not, you're coming to see me.
But what if I book something?
Well, then I'll come see you. I'll see you.
I've been invited to
Get out of
Fear
contact.
Fest in New Orleans, so I'm still trying to figure out how to get out there because they're doing everything 100% for the nonprofit, and they're not paying any of their talent, and everybody's volunteering time. But it's like, and I really want to get out there and help Howard because it's for a really good cause.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that for many years and gone places on my own dime, and it's not that I really care. It's just it gets to the point where you can't afford it. I mean, I'm retired now. And you got to watch every penny. The prices going up and everything. It's just really tough. Where I won't complain is if you're helping someone or if you're helping a family. And for people that may have questions about this, look, it is okay to ask that your expenses be covered. We never charge a dime to help people. However, if you're traveling, we just came back from a 5-day trip to New York, upstate New York, and the family was very gracious and they covered all of our expenses. The family owned a diner, so they fed us very well. I drove there because I was only about 3 hours away, car ride, but still, that's 5 days out of your life. That's time away from your job or your family. I know personally, I'll tell you, my wife wasn't thrilled about it, but she knows what I do and accepts it, but again, that's 5 days out of your life you can't get back, but you've done that in service to others. And, I think we did a great job and brought some peace to the family, and that's my payment.
Right.
Seriously. That's my payment. To get a phone call or an email, or they look you in the eye and with tears in their eyes, and it's like, thank you so much for helping me and my family. And that, you can't put a dollar amount on that. No. And everyone here knows what I'm talking about. You cannot put a dollar amount on that. And even though it might sting you a little bit financially, that takes the sting away. It really does.
And cases like that take the sting away from when you have cases like the one I had where the poor 70-some-year-old woman was crying on the phone that she's not crazy, but we had no evidence of paranormal activity in her house. It's like at that point in time, you're looking for the next case that you could help someone.
Yeah, we've got some case. We've got one in particular case we've spent probably 3 to 3.5 months on right now. And the client who's desperate, or they say they're desperate for help, is not cooperating, isn't doing what we're asking of her. And it's very frustrating. It's like one side of you is like, oh, I've had it. I'm just going to write this person off. And the other side is you're torn. It's a tug of war. It's like, I won't do that. I'll never give up on somebody because there may be some truth to this. She may have an issue. But
and her pain is real.
What you're being torn, from opposite sides, and you want to help this person, but the best help you can give a person is to help them help themselves. And if that person doesn't have skin in the game, and you're asking them to do something, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not comfortable doing that, or it won't let me do that, and like I can't do it for you, and these are not hard tasks.
Right.
They're not hard asks. They're actually pretty simple. But if they're like, well, can you come here and bring me here? Can you bring me to the church? I can't go into the church. I'm like, well, technically, physically, yes, I could, but I've got to go home. So you spend days, weeks, months, years in someone's home helping them investigate. You got to be careful because eventually you're going to pack up and go home, and you don't want all holy hell to break loose because you stirred the hornet's nest. And that's what a lot of inexperienced people and groups do is they'll go in, they'll stir up a hornet's nest, and then, holy crap happens after they leave. And then what are you doing? And now they're mad at you because of something you did or said caused activity to spike. And now I got to live with this. You got to be careful there.
Yep.
That's why you don't go in like gangbusters, and you don't go in like some tough guy. Like, oh, come on, if this is the gates of hell, why don't you rise up and get me? It's gonna happen. Trust me. It's gonna happen. Just not until you're at your weakest point. When you're at your most vulnerable point, it's gonna strike. And it's gonna sit there and go, ha ha, you asked for it. You got to be careful what you say, even if it's all for show.
Right.
Which actually makes it worse, in my opinion. But
yeah. Yep.
I'm sorry. We're probably out of time, aren't we?
We are. I didn't even realize what time it was. Time goes by fast.
We're always out of time when I'm talking.
It is. And we didn't even take our second commercial break.
And I pissed off.
Sorry, Todd. But Todd did comment earlier in the private chat regarding the roast. He's like, now that is a fun idea. We can set it up as a webinar through the radio station.
I mean, I think it's a good idea. If you guys all agree.
I think that works.
We've got a bunch of people we could ask.
Yep. Yeah, I'll work with Todd on that one and see what we can come up with and who we can get on there. But thank you again, Joe, for joining. Always a great time chatting with you.
It's been my honor, really. I love talking to you. You're my sister from another mister, I'll tell you.
But definitely thank you, everyone, for watching. Next week, we will be joined by Father Kenneth Torres. He'll be talking about his new book and some of his recent experiences that he had. And I believe the week after that, we have Jeff Schlachter on to talk about his stuff. Like he just says, he uses the Gates of Hell question as his opener for investigations, just to cut to the chase. So we'll be making some jokes and having fun with everybody that's coming on the show. But we always do. Guys know we take things seriously when we're actually out there investigating and helping others. But again, thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. And
God bless everybody. I love you all.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.
Thank you.